Welcome to Speechcom Sparkles. Well, today we have another interesting topic, a request from one of my viewers. I know vowel sounds are really difficult, and most of the time when we articulate or pronounce words, the vowel sounds would always be a crucial situation. You know, the tongue is your point of articulation. That's why we have to be sure that your tongue has a tip. Hmm? Without the tip, it's very difficult to use it as the start or the pivotal point of articulation. And your tongue will have to be very flexible, that could glide from up, middle, down, from front, central, back, to be able to pronounce the vowel sounds. Actually, there are only 11 basic sounds in American English. There are variations. I'm talking about vowel sounds. There'll be another story when you go to the diphthongs and the consonants. But meanwhile, the heart of any syllable is the vowel sound. A mistake in the pronunciation of a vowel can change the meaning of a word. And they're too close. It would then be your enunciation that would determine what word, what meaning you are trying to convey. Well, in my book, I have a chapter showing the tongue. Take a look at this. There is your tongue. You see? It's beautifully crafted here. And look at the tip. It's a rounded tip so that it will not hurt your lower teeth if it is a pointed tip. It's a rounded tip of the tongue. And you have imaginary divisions there. I say imaginary, you don't find the divisions. Vertically, you have the high, mid, low, which means your tongue will glide from high, mid, low. And horizontally, you have front, central, back. What does that mean? It is actually a spontaneous blending of the movement of the tongue that will make you pronounce the words properly. So if it's a front vowel, then you know how to put it in a higher point or a middle point or a lower point, and you know also how to move it, whether it's front, central, or back. Take a look at our front vowels. You know, when you pronounce the front vowels, we can see your tongue. The tongue can be seen because it's front. Of course, as I said, you have the front high, the front mid, and the front low. And they're so closely knit that if you don't pronounce them properly, well, you can change the meaning. So first we have the two sounds considered to be the high front vowel sounds, the E and the I. Look at the spelling. B-E-A-T is beat, and B-I-T is bit. So you don't say, I'm going to beat the drum, but you're going to beat the drum. I'm going to beat the deadline. I'm hungry a bit. You don't say, I'm hungry a beat. You see how the vowel sound can change the meaning or can confuse people who are listening to you. Then we go to the mid portion. The A and the eh. A, eh. So you say bait and you say bet. Fishing bait. Wanna bet. And the lowest and the smiling vowel, very characteristic of American English, is bat. If you don't know how to smile, you cannot pronounce bat. So take note. Bit, bit, bait, bet, bat. The 5 front vowel sounds. There are variations, but however, there's so many to enumerate in this session, but those are the basic ones. Unfortunately, the Visayas region or the Cebuanos, maybe a little bit of the Ilongas, they have problems with the front vowel sounds because of the interference of the first language. But most Filipinos have a problem with the ah sound. Whether you're Tagalog, Cebuano, Pangalatok, or what, we don't have the ah sound. So we only have the ah. So that's the problem. Why do you have to know the vowel sounds? Because if you're just talking and you're not writing and people are not reading what you are saying, then they will just rely on what they hear. And you can create confusion. You can create, what do you call that? A mixture of different meanings because of the variations of the front vowel sounds. So there you are again. Would like you to watch, repeat after me. The front vowel sounds, the bit, bit, bait, bet, bat. And then we go to the central vowel. There are many variations here that I just would like to talk about the central swa. Swa is very characteristic of American idiom. It is a sound that's not clear. Any sound that is not well defined is a swa. Well, sometimes we say attention, constitution, when you just say shun, it's a swa shun. You don't say I'm all alone, but you say I'm all alone. It's a swa, alone. You don't say I love you unless you are Italian. I love you, I love you. But you say I love you, swa. Okay. Lower than that, take note, is the ah sound, which is not a problem because we have the ah in all our dialects. Baboy, bata, banyo. So you have no problem pronouncing them. After the front vowel sounds and the central vowel sounds, we go to the back vowels. Well, this could be a problem if you don't know how to round your lips. You have to round your lips. Sometimes it's a big rounding of lips, and occasionally it is small rounding of lips. So, if you cannot round your lips, you cannot say boot. Because boot is supposed to be very high back vowel sounds. Oo, boot. And the shorter one is book. And then you go to the mid portion of your back vowel sounds where you have the boat. And the open ah is bought. So sometimes you say, I bought it, when it should be, I bought it. Now it's time to look at your tongue and pinpoint your back vowel sounds. Supposed to be the back portion of your tongue is the one moving and gliding. And at the same time, it goes high, mid, and low. The highest back vowel, where you round your lips 360 degrees, would be boot. Smaller rounding because it's high. Oo, boot. And then the shorter sound is book. Oh, book. The mid back vowel is boat. This time your rounding of lips is a little bigger than the first one, than the back one. So you say boat. And you lower it down to be able to have the open ah, where you don't close your lips or your mouth and you say ba. So take a look for the last time at your tongue, where you have the placement of the different front, central, and back vowel sounds. We said that the tongue should be able to glide from the front, central, back, high, mid, low, to be able to pronounce the words properly. Because of our negligence maybe, or some dialectal impediments, we mispronounce common words, common errors in phonology. Like, for instance, tomb. Sometimes we say tom. And so, viewers, I hope you will remember the positioning of your tongue to be able to pronounce your vowels correctly. You can just imagine the importance of the tongue, the rounding of your lips, rounding, and also the gliding of your tongue from E, the smiling vowel like the A where you have to smile, and then of course the rounding where you have the O, U, 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 O, A. 11 basic vowel sounds. I did not include the variations. However, because it's not really easy to remember the different vowel sounds, particularly the variations, you can have more than 11 or 13 vowel sounds. You still have the diphthongs, of course, and the consonant sounds, which we will take up next session. But we have some commonly mispronounced words. I don't know why. Maybe because you infuse the dialectal interferences when you pronounce the basic American vowel sounds. Like you often hear tome when it should be tomb. Ooh, you would like to visit the tomb during All Saints' Day. Sometimes you can say lead the way, but then a pencil is made of lead. EA could be a problem. Sometimes you say, because you say please, pleasing, you are likely to say pleasure when it should be pleasure. Measure, treasure. Commonly you say pleasure, measure, and treasure. So don't forget that the E sound there acquires the E sound. Later, of course, we shall be talking about stress and intonation, but I just would like to let you know about some words which are commonly mispronounced, not only because of the vowel sounds, but the stress. We always hear orator when it should be orator. But of course, it's oratorical and oration. The T-I-O-N is a swashion. Well, lawyers, because they would like to make every consonant, every syllable distinct, would say constitution, provision, article 2 of provision 5. But when you're having conversational English, you say provision, election. The T-I-O-N is a swa. Another one is plaid. Checkered, printed dress is a plaid, not a plaid. And the past tense is yesterday you bad goodbye, not bade goodbye. It's bad. And as I said, going back to the commonly mispronounced words, may I repeat, tomb, lead, pleasure, measure, treasure. And when it's the beginning of a word, you don't say orator, it's orator, oration, the swa sound. So there you are, viewers. You had a basic overview of the vowel sounds. Diphthongs are not really difficult because we have that. Most of them, by the way, in our native tongue. Like you have the oi is a diphthong. You have the ow, and you have the I. But the problem there is you sometimes, instead of boil, you say boil. Boiling water, you say boiling or whatever. So it should be boiling, but because we cannot pronounce the O in the dialect, so you're like to say boiling when it should be boiling water. And the ow is not a problem because you have that araw, kalabaw. So it's easy to say now because it's AW. And then, of course, consonant sounds should be really articulated very well. In a little while, I'll be talking about the consonant sounds. In our enunciation drill, the consonants and diphthongs are equally important. They can also change the meaning of the word. It's very important that we aspirate, pa, pa, make an extra blowing sound for some consonants, especially if they are in the last part or in the last syllable. Listen, then try to repeat with me the list of the consonants. I will voice out each consonant and the corresponding example. Pa, pill. Ba, best. Ta, tea. Da, dog. Ka, cart. G, girl. Fa, fill. Va, vine. Sit. Z, zoo. Thin. Z, this. Sh, she. Ja, azure. Hand. Water. Young. Me. Net. Sing. Love. Read. Jam. Chief. The initial, middle, and final consonant sounds are very important, particularly the final sound, because it would really determine what you mean. The last consonant sounds, according to how they are spelled, will definitely add to your understanding of the word. For example, if you only say pill, what? Pill or pid? So I should know it's pill or pin. Of course, you have some plosives. I will not mention this to you. This is too theoretical. But there are certain sounds, initial sounds, particularly the last sound, that the consonant should really be emphasized. Generally, our problem is the at, and the, because we don't have that in our native tongue. So like, for example, you say thin, thick, and the, these, those, the. You don't say da, etc. So again, may I repeat? Let's look at the list of the consonants again and repeat after me. You're still looking at your listing. Pa, pill. Ba, best. Ta, tea. Da, dog. Ka, cart. G, girl. Fa, fill. Va, vine. Sit. Z, zoo. Thin. Z, this. Sh, she. Ja, azure. Hand. Water. Young. Me. Net. Sing. Love. Read. Jam. Chief. For the sake of learning skills, you would notice I really exaggerate the sounding off. But of course, when you talk, you don't really do it that way. I just wanted you to accentuate the consonant sounds and know the differences. Now, take note of the listing of the diphthongs too. And most of the diphthongs we have in our dialects. But as I said, there are interferences. Like oi, sometimes you say oi, so we even add W, Vowel, when it should be oi, boil, noise, toil, oil, toy. Sometimes I hear noise. I hear the noise or the owel. Let's have our owel. You know, it should be really just one syllable. Then the ow should not be difficult, as I mentioned earlier. Bow, mouth, south, house. The ending should be heard, because if you only say how, house, you know it's house you're talking about. Then you have I, kite, fine, dine, wine, and then the a, bay, say, day, make, clay. For others who are very fluent in English, you might think, oh, I know them already. They're very basic. Correct. But there are times we forget them because American English is not our first language. So oftentimes we just forget some teeny-weeny blending of consonants and vowel sounds. And that's the reason why I'm trying to let you know what they are based on so many viewers asking me how I could cope with difficulty in the vowel sounds. Of course, the best way is practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. If you can get a chance to speak with people in American English without sounding like an American, then that would be fine. Well, you just had your brief lesson on phonology. I hope you understood the importance of vowel sounds, consonants, and diphthongs. We will have more of English drills and exercises next session. But meanwhile, we go to part 2 of this interaction. Back to the 16 days of activism. Didn't I tell you that so many Sontians all over the world are celebrating the 16 days of activism? Take a look at this. The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence against women is being celebrated by the Sontians all over the world. You might ask, why 16 days of activism? Yes, the event runs from November 25, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, to December 10, the Human Rights Day. This was initiated in 1991 by the first Women's Global Leadership Institute held at Rutgers University. For more than a century, Zonta International has sustained the 16 Days of Activism program as a platform to promote gender equality and stop violence against women and other related issues. I would like to do a periscoping of the different events, activities going on in District 17 from November 25 to December 10, 2020. Here they are, glimpses of the 16 days of activism celebrated by District 17 Zonta International. Well, you had a potpourri of English grammar, phonology, and the 16 days of activism. Don't forget to subscribe.